This is the Manufacturing Report. I'm Scott Paul.
Currently, we're having this discussion about, bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. And I always say, well, who's going to do it?
Hi everybody, it's Scott Paul from the Alliance for American Manufacturing, and I'm here at the Furnace Record Pressing Company just outside of Washington, D.C. I'm about to take a plant tour and to also talk with Eric Astor, the CEO of Furnace, as well as Mark Ryder, their Chief of Operations, about how it's like to be a startup manufacturer in a busy metro area like this, and also what it's like to start pressing vinyl records again, an industry that virtually vanished from the United States a couple of decades ago. Next on the Manufacturing Report. So Eric, Furnace Record Pressing. If you would have asked anybody back in the 1980s what the future of vinyl records was, they would have said it's pretty bleak. It's a dying industry. But yet here you are in a major, expensive metro area in the 21st century, opening a record pressing factory. How's that journey been?
For the last 8-9 years, we've been pressing records in Europe and importing them, and then we do all the assembly and finishing here. And we said, well, that's great, but there's that cost of shipping and just the cap of capacity. We said, in order for the industry to thrive and for us to grow, we need to build our own facilities.
So vinyl records, have a small niche audience, and obviously the manufacturing ability to make those records shrunk dramatically. How big of a challenge was it to find the know-how, to find the equipment, and bring it here to Washington?
We bought a couple new machines. We have about 10 old machines, and we're making 4 semi-automatic machines ourselves, and that's going to make up our equipment. So that was difficult. And then you get to the brain drain part of it, which is most of the folks that had pressed records and know this stuff, they're retired.
Sure they are.
And a lot of them, the old timers that are around, some of them are hardcore and they really like doing this, and some of them are like, I'm so glad vinyl died because it's a pain in the butt, So we're taking and finding people that know it, and then we're learning it ourselves, and it just requires the will and the patience and the money, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, let's talk about the workforce for a second, because that must be a big challenge. You're here in the DC market, a lot of folks going on to college, the unemployment rate is low, not a lot of people imagining that manufacturing is a part of their future. How are you able to recruit, retain folks to work in the factory?
I think that's the most difficult part, is to find people that are passionate about making things. Currently, we're having this discussion about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. And I always say, well, who's going to do it? If we want to be serious manufacturers again, we need to start with the education. We need to start with the apprenticeship. And it's a great job. Like,
Sure.
You work in the trade. I mean, you have good hours, good pay. You're not working 90 hours a week.
It's a family supporting job.
Yeah, you can see your kids. Like, so, I always tell people, like, if you're not psyched about, coding or all these other service jobs or driving an Uber, go learn how to be a plumber. You're gonna make a ton of money, and you're gonna have a great job, and you're gonna be able to spend time with your family and go on vacations, and and you're always gonna be in demand.
Eric, as I'm talking to you, the finishing touches are being put on the factory behind us. What is your definition of success? What do you hope to achieve a year from now, and how will you know if your plans have been successful?
I think success is, if we can make a little bit of money along the way, great, but it's really about quality and customer service, and in the vinyl world, that's really the only thing that matters. I think that we do that, and the success will follow.
Well, let's go take a look at what you got going on.
All right, let's do it.
So Eric, we're here on the factory floor. I know it's just about to hit kind of a full opening potential, but I'm excited to see what you have here, both your machinery, your process, your workers. Why don't we get started?
Yeah, let's go back to the pressing room. That's the best place to start.
Awesome, great.
This is the pressing room. So what we've done here is we've pre-plumbed, if you will. We drop pipes for all of our utilities for all the presses that we have now, as well as some presses that we're going to buy in the future. So we're trying to make all of our equipment smarter.
Yeah,
and
I was
so
going to ask you about that, because the the vinyl record, I mean, I guess you can make some fidelity improvements to it or whatever, but it's essentially the same construct, right, as
Yeah.
it was 40, 50 years ago.
Even 100 years
Even
ago.
100 years ago. But I imagine the machinery has advanced quite a bit, and you're able to take advantage of some of that digitization and
Exactly.
instrumentation.
Yeah. So with the PLC, you can then program to make dynamic cycle time. So if the steam isn't the same temperature all the time, you can take a probe at the mold and say, okay, well the temperature is this, and you can change the cycle of both your steam and your cold water, as well as your the actual cycle time itself. So as we get to know the presses and as we get to know the space and the PVC that we use, we can program these to modulate it
Sure.
per record. We're trying to be experts in everything because you can't always wait for a technician to come out and get you back online. I mean, you need to get going. And,
It's a lot of downtime.
Yeah. So it pays dividends to train these folks and send them to school to learn this stuff. And there's not a lot of boiler technicians out there, especially in this area.
Right.
You'd think,
Right.
but people came in here and they're like, "What are you trying to do with this stuff?" So it's the first time they've seen applications like this in a manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
So.
Did you hear that, kids? Get a technical education. There are lots of jobs available.
Oh, you will have more hours in the year to work than you can, and you'll make a lot of money. So do it. The engineering part of this process was just mind-boggling.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have a lot of point of references in the U.S.
Yeah.
You're a startup. in a lot
Exactly.
of
There's
ways.
there's no one you can go to that specializes in
Yeah.
this. So we lucked out. We chose a construction company, and it just so happens our supervisor was a pipe fitter. That was his.
That's great.
That's how he got into the construction business. So he could speak the language, which was huge because when you're starting to talk about PSIs and pipe sizes and all these things that I don't know, but you can understand. He could speak the language to the engineers and also the folks that make the equipment,
Sure.
and make sense of it. Where my mind's just all tied up in knots because that's not my background, right?
Right.
So this is the steam plant. In order to make a good quality record, you need a steam cycle. So in addition to the pressure, in order to get that PVC into those fine grooves, you need a cycle of steam. So the steam goes into the mold, melts the plastic up into those grooves, and then as soon as that's done, it goes out, and we have cold water that basically firms the record up. So it's kind of like a waffle, right?
Yeah.
So if you open up that waffle iron too early, it falls apart. Well, you have the steam that heats it, and then you have the cold water that firms it up. So when it comes open, it stays together. Here's some of the equipment. These are the presses that we bought brand new. So this is one company that's making an automated press. First time in, 30, 40 years that new presses have been made.
Wow.
Automatic presses.
Yeah.
And so we'll have 2 of those, and we'll give them a whirl. But we figured we'd blend the new technology with the old, and we can learn from the new and apply it to some of the old equipment. But we're really excited to try these out, and we're excited to see that people have made the investment to try to make new equipment again.
It's interesting. One of the conversations that you hear in manufacturing is like, well, we got to move to do other things because the robots are going to be making everything. And obviously you're buying automated equipment, but
Right.
It seems to me as I'm standing here, there's going to be a lot of workers who are going to be here. There's going to be really sophisticated equipment, and they're going to be kind of cohabitating and making each other kind of better for the bottom line and for the customer as well.
Yeah, we need one operator for every 2 to 3 presses. You just can't get around that.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be hands-on. They have to inspect all the records as they're coming off. They have to put it on a turntable and listen to them every 50 records or so. I mean, it's a very hands-on. Even though the equipment's doing some of the work, the work that's done after the record is trimmed and cooling is as important, because if you hear something on those records and you need to tweak it, you need to do it right away. Otherwise, you got a stack of bad records that came off the press.
Yeah. So Eric, thanks so much for taking us through Furnace. It's an amazing place. I wish you the best as you're getting it entirely launched. What you've been able to accomplish here so far is impressive, kind of growing an industry up from scratch again. It's had a hobbyist component, but now it's really scaling. And I'm really excited to talk to you because you're a pioneer.
Well, thank you very much.
So best of luck as you move forward, and thanks for spending a little bit of time with us.
Well, thanks for coming and visit.
You
Really
bet.
appreciate it. Spread the word. Manufacturing is back.
We will. Manufacturing is back. So is vinyl. So I'm here with Mark Ryder, the operations manager at Furnace. It's crunch time at a startup, so I feel really lucky to have a couple of minutes to ask him how things are going to check in. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're an English major, yet you're like in manufacturing, and that kind of sums up one of the challenges I guess Furnace has, right? You're in a really kind of professional urban environment, yet you're trying to build a manufacturing facility and a manufacturing workforce. How's it going?
It's going. It's kind of like drinking out of an open fire hydrant right now. There's the challenges are continual, ongoing, and persistent.
Yeah.
So we've made a lot of progress. Eric's shown you the facility, so we've we're almost there. We're almost there, but it has not been an easy road.
Yeah. So what happens when you're trying to recruit someone to join the workforce here? And I'm just guessing here because I live in the DC suburbs as well.
Okay.
It's like, working in a record factory is probably the last thing some kids or adult imagined. How do you sell it? What's your pitch?
Well, yeah, I mean, the challenge, which is that people don't come to DC to do manufacturing. They come here to be part of a power structure.
Yeah.
And finding somebody that wants to turn wrenches on a press or make records or run a shrink wrapper is not an easy thing to do. And it's like we were saying before, it didn't work out as the senator's page. You want to put records together here? And the answer is no, I don't.
Yeah.
So we find people that are smart and willing to work hard and have problem-solving capability and can look at a problem and say, yeah, I know we got this. I can figure it out. So everyone that works here has two things in common. One, they want to be part of a team, and they have a personality that lends itself to sort of building esprit de corps, and then they're smart.
Yeah.
And that's what we look for.
Yeah. It seems like that's a universal thing that a lot of manufacturers I talk to are looking for as well. It's like you can build up the technical skills, but you have to have that foundation of problem solving, collaboration.
Yep.
To make it work. So, okay, you talk about the power structure. Let's say for a minute, Mark, you're in charge of the power structure that's trying to kind of bring manufacturing back to the United States. What do you do? What are the first things that you would do? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you've thought about this a bit that would make your life a little bit easier.
So the biggest problem is finding people that have any kind of formal education in the trades.
Okay.
There is a huge deficit of people that followed that career path from the beginning. I think that the level of education and the way that we've sort of pushed people towards different career paths is having an impact on.
Well, it's college or bust, right?
It's college or bust.
Yeah.
And if we truly want to bring manufacturing back to the United States, if you want to do this in the United States, we need people that are young that already have some knowledge, packed away and have some training. So, we're drawing from a labor pool that is either past retirement age or we got to get people in here from somewhere else that have been doing another job and then show them how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's challenging.
Yeah.
That is either starting, you're investing in someone that is really kind of like, this is my last work adventure and then I'm gone. So what are you looking at? 3-4 years, or we're untraining somebody to train them back again, and those are challenging things.
Yeah. What's your favorite album?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Signals by Rush.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'll bet that sounds good here. You guys ever have the opportunity to press it here, or do they have their own
Unfortunately, we don't get to press any Rush records yet. But
did you hear that, Rush? Getty, you gotta get on these guys at Furnace here. They know what they're doing.
But my favorite record that we do press, and we do Fleetwood Mac Rumors, which is an amazing sounding record.
Yeah.
So, and we do it every few weeks. It seems like. So
That's pretty cool. That's pretty. Mark, best of luck to you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Wow, so that was quite a tour. I was really lucky to have the opportunity to sit down with Eric and with Mark and to also take a tour of this amazing facility just weeks before it's about to launch. I hope you'll be able to follow their journey at furnacemfg.com, as well as stay tuned for fresh content from our podcast, The Manufacturing Report. As always, you can find us online at americanmanufacturing.org. You can keep in touch with us on Twitter at KeepItMadeInUSA. I'd love your feedback on this episode, as well as ideas for new episodes, some amazing factories just like Furnace. Thanks again for joining us. Together, we can keep it made in America.